Hey, what's up? How's it going? Welcome back. I posted that Sky video last week, but that was actually a few weeks ago. In between then and now, a lot has happened. I've put on a successful solo exhibition. I've been in Paris and supported my husband in a marathon. I have put the entire new collection online. Obviously, I made the entire collection. So yeah, it has been busy. I filmed a lot of what I did, but honestly, the videos were just like very stress-inducing and it wasn't in the best place, and they were like a little bit frantic and all over the place, and I thought they just really weren't worth sharing. There was nothing of value in them, and also they were not relatable at all because maybe they were actually, maybe being stressed and overwhelmed is relatable, but the whole situation, yeah, wasn't pretty. So I thought I'd better come back, refresh with some hindsight after the exhibition and not in my state of panic. So here we are, we're back. So I did it. I did the exhibition and I learned a lot. This is my second solo exhibition and I think I learned even more this time than I did on my first one. I suppose the first one I had no expectations whatsoever. So I thought it would be nice to reflect with you guys on what went right, what went wrong, what I would do differently, and just a general chit chat about putting on an exhibition. So I should probably introduce the exhibition to start off with. It is called Night Tales. I made 16 screen prints, 3 digital prints, 4 bookmarks, 4 postcards and 4 stickers in 5 months. It is based on looking at not just Edinburgh, but looking at life in a more fantastical way. So you might remember a few months ago we went on that photo walk around Edinburgh to get reference images, and that is kind of the starting point for a lot of this collection. I found having a theme really helpful for having a deadline. It meant each of the pieces kind of talk to one another, and I felt even when things felt out of control, I felt really focused on what, like, the narrative and what type of work I wanted to create. This also felt very authentically me because obviously I live here and I read a lot of fantasy books. I watch a lot of like fantasy TV shows, things like that, movies of course, and this collection just felt like a little bit of me on paper. I started off by being really overambitious. I really wanted this to be all originals and screen prints. That didn't happen. I don't think there's anything wrong with being ambitious, but there's also, it's good to know when to rein it in a little, you know? So I started off with the paintings, which are still sat behind me here. They will be finished eventually, but now was not the time for that. I just didn't have enough time to get it done. The screen prints I did get done, but actually not all of the ones I wanted to get done. So I think at some point, like, things have to give and you have to compromise and you have to prioritize, and that was a big lesson that I learned with this is, you know, like, I didn't want to compromise the vision, but it was okay to pull back on some elements to make it all come together. So in terms of prioritizing, I prioritized things that needed to be done. So I had a gallery, I needed to put pictures on the wall. I needed frames for the pictures on the wall, so I needed to know what size of pictures I was making. It was a good starting point. I also needed to get packaging, so that was also to do with sizing and numbers. And then I needed to work out if I wanted anything done by my printers, because that takes a few weeks to turn around. So I went with the postcards, and everything else I did internally. So those 4 designs had to be completed first so I could send them to print, if that makes any sense. So that kind of, instead of having like all these ideas, that kind of like nailed down the timeline a little bit of what needed done first. Next up was getting screen prints done. It's quite a long process to screen print, and if something goes wrong, then you need to kind of just start all over again. I was printing outside of a studio environment for the first time in forever, and actually it was the first time I printed in like 2 years. So the whole thing was an experiment, and I needed time to get used to my new surroundings and used to my new equipment and things like that. I was printing from my own attic at home. Pros were I could print until midnight and I had my husband nearby to have clean hands when I got really inky and move bits of paper around for me. Cons were it's not a professional setup. I don't have a suction bed. it was quite a chaotic experience. I got much faster and much better at it as the prints went along, but the first few were like a real learning curve. Actually, I will show you screen printing from the attic just now, just in case you don't know what screen printing is. This is a little insight to what I've been up to.
I don't know if I can find my way out. I'm stuck in a prison of doubt. In this tiny shell, and everything is growing up tight. There's no room to breathe. And nobody is watching at night. I wanna rise up. Need a friend to shake me out again. Need a friend to shake me out again.
A lot went wrong there. I think planning for things to go wrong might be something I keep in mind for next time, because the problem was I didn't really have time for things to go wrong when that kind of set off my panic, but I got there in the end, and that's what's important. 3 of the designs, the 3 A3 prints, were also meant to be screen printed, but because I didn't have a suction bed at home, they just didn't work out. I would need a professional studio to do those, and that is yet another lesson learned. Talking about screen printing, something with this exhibition, I wanted to make it like more approachable, because I think we say things as artists like it's a giclée print, or it's a screen print, or it's a this, or it's that, or whatever, and we presume people know what that is, but like we only know because that's what we do, right? At some point we also didn't know what that meant. So making it more approachable for people. So I had my screens, which I think are still behind me, in the actual gallery space, and then I had all the acetates in a folder that people could flick through, and then I just said to people, these are screen prints, if you want to know anything about the process, like please let me know, and you know, I'll chat you through it. And loads of people were like, oh, I had no idea, oh, that's why they're so expensive, I didn't realize it was such like a hard process, They found it really interesting. They were like, where would I do a course in this? And it was just really fun to have those interactions with people and then being interested in how artwork is made. So that was an element that I didn't have in my last exhibition. I think really worked. I also had my sketches out, so I don't have a sketchbook. I like doodle on bits of paper, but I put all those in like a folder for people to flick through as well, so they could see again like the process of maybe like the first drawing and how then it went from a sketch to the end print, which people found really interesting. And it was like a talking point, because I am quite like nervous talking to people, so it was really nice to kind of have something to chat about together, if that makes sense, that they were invested in. Also having smaller pieces as well, so I had obviously the screen prints, I had just art prints, I had some of the greetings cards displayed even though they weren't part of the collection, but having things like little stickers that were like £2 each, I had little hand printed bookmarks that were £2 each, and I had little postcards that were £1.50 each, just makes everything feel more approachable. And I always want my art to feel approachable to people, no matter, you know, like what their budget or their background. I want them to kind of step into my world and enjoy. So I think having those little bits made it feel more comfortable and not as I I don't know, intimidating, I suppose. I suppose art galleries are quite intimidating. I find them intimidating and I didn't want my space to be that way. Another thing was being in the space. So last time I didn't hang out in the space. I wasn't sure if I was meant to, I wasn't really sure what I was doing, but this time I stayed the entire duration of the exhibition, and I think that was really useful. It was useful for me to see how people interact with my work. It was also, I think, just nice for people to chat to the artists and learn a little bit more about me and a little bit more about my work, and it had that personal connection added to the work, and I think that was really beneficial. Before putting on the exhibition, do you have to tell people about the exhibition? Now, I'm not great at this. I actually find talking about my work to people really cringe and embarrassing, and you're on the internet doing it right now, and I'm aware of that, but really to me I'm just in my studio talking to myself, so like that's fine. Actually going out and handing out leaflets and stuff I find really, really stressful, but it needs to be done, and it was proven to work. I put it in some local bookshops, I put it in coffee shops, I basically put it in places that I would be, because I think that I'm my customer essentially, and people saw it and they told me that they came from those places specifically. I also handed out flyers at markets I was doing and told people I had new work coming up. I find it really horrible thing to do, but it really does work, and I think building up that confidence to chat to people and just be enthusiastic about your work makes them enthusiastic about it too. So a lot of people turned up from doing those promotional things, so it is kind of worth it. Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest lessons I've learned. I'm really happy with this collection and how it's gone. I've just photographed it all and put it all on my website, wayward.store, if you want to have a proper look at it. If you've got any questions at all, let me know. Now exhibition chaos is over and out. We're gonna go back to normal life. I'm actually in London tomorrow, so I might do a little video on that and I can share what we get up to in London. My husband's running again, so that's the kind of big event we're down for, but I'm sure I can squeeze in with some fun things in between. Then after that, back in the studio, figuring out what we're gonna do next. So thank you for sticking around if you have stuck around this far. I'll give you a little look at the exhibition space so you can see what I'm actually blabbing on about. And yeah, I will see you very soon.
I don't know if I can find my way out. I'm stuck in a prison of doubt.